St. Thomas University Digital Journalism and New Media present.
Hello, my name is Dascalu.
I'm Bruna, Porto. Welcome to this week's Basement Files.
And here are our top stories. Today we'll cover the annual Take Back the Night March and how rape culture has been seen so far.
We'll also take a look on traffic circles and how drivers communicate with each other.
And stay tuned for our coverage on apple picking at the Everett family orchard.
Frederickton community members marched last Friday against the cold and rain to take part in the 33rd annual Take Back the Night March. They marched to create safer spaces for women and LGBTQ+ communities. Jerry Faye Flatt has the story.
People gathered outside of City Hall last week to raise awareness around creating safer communities and respectful relationships. Hosted by the Fredericton Sexual Assault Center, they describe it as a public protest that demands action against gender-based violence. Women, children, and non-binary folk marched while men stayed behind to have a discussion about how important it is to be an ally to those who are oppressed or discriminated against. Libby Boudreau is a social work student who's been doing her placement with the Fredericton Sexual Assault Center. She said that this year's central theme for the march was breaking barriers.
We created this wall this year because the theme was breaking barriers. We wanted a physical representation of that, mainly the barriers that are in society currently that keep us from really living our full lives as women and non-binary folks.
After some opening words from Boudreau, the march started. People walked with their signs and chanted together about ending violence. The march began and ended at City Hall.
It is so incredible to do that year after year.
The marchers circled around the block and came back down Queen Street to applause from the allies.
I think it's really important because when everyone gets together, it shows our support for the feminist community in Fredericton and how we exist and we want our voices to be heard.
Events like these are important to have in the community to raise awareness about sexual assault that many people face.
This is really a huge night to kind of come together as women, whatever kind of woman you identify as, and really look around at one another and say we ought to be building one another up always and not just from time to time.
People headed home that evening feeling empowered and ready to stand up for their own rights and the rights of others. For STU Journalism, I'm Jerry Faye Flatt.
This is also the goal of the Me Too movement. It started less than a year ago, and events supporting women's rights, such as Take Back the Night March, have sprung up everywhere, including Fredericton. Sarah Morn has the story.
Justice! Now!
It's time for a change, chanted women and girls at Fredericton's 33rd Take Back the Night March on September 20th.
Feminism is not what people think it is, and it should include all people, all races, all genders. And it's not this crazy radical thing. It's so basic, just wanting basic human rights like every other human being.
The annual March Against Sexual Violence finished off a week full of activities focused on combating rape culture and breaking down barriers. It all kicked off with a paint night at the University of New Brunswick on September 14th. Students and faculty listened to speakers talk about how to redefine rape culture. Elizabeth Tuck attended. She says it's important for people to do anything they can to change rape culture.
I think it's hard to get the education around rape culture to the people that really need it. So I think when we have events like this, which are phenomenal, it's not always the people who need the education the most that are going to show up to an event like this.
But this year's Take Back the Night events come at a pivotal moment in women's rights. The march took place a week before the historic Senate Judiciary Committee hearing in the United States. The hearing was about sexual misconduct allegations against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Christine Blasey Ford says Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her when they went to high school together in 1982.
Well, then let's go back to the incident. What is the strongest memory you have? Strongest memory of the incident, something that you cannot forget. Take whatever time you need.
Indelible in the hippocampus is the laughter the uproarious laughter between the two, and they're having fun at my expense.
You've never forgotten that laughter. You've never forgotten them laughing at you.
They were laughing with each other.
And you were the object of the laughter?
I was, underneath one of them while the two laughed. Two friends having a really good time with one another.
From Take Back the Night marches to paint nights to judicial hearings, women abroad and at home in Fredericton are saying enough is enough. Maggie Forsythe is a sexual assault support advocate. She says events like Take Back the Night are more important now than ever to help educate people about sexual assault and sexual harassment.
So rape culture is anything that in society that really minimizes and perpetuates sexual violence. So things like victim blaming and slut shaming and gender roles and things like that that put people in boxes are all things that contribute to us not really understanding what sexual violence looks like and allowing people to perpetrate that and feel like they can do that without consequence.
Forsythe says we need events like Take Back the Night so that people like Ford don't have to suffer in silence. She says the ultimate goal of these events is so that one day we can live in a world free from sexual violence. For St. Thomas Journalism, I'm Sarah Morin.
Now, to light up your mood, the Fredericton Fall Craft Show began this Friday in downtown Fredericton, with vendors ready to show and sell their handcrafted goods. Rachel Moros has more on the report.
As fall weather begins to set upon Fredericton, fall festivities have begun. The Fredericton Fall Craft Show, that ran from the 28th to the 30th of September, welcomed over 100 stall vendors to the Capitol exhibition grounds to show off their handcrafted work. With stalls selling a range of items such as woodwork, sewn and knitted goods, pottery and paintings, there was something for everyone. Handmade food was also a big part of the show, with sweet treats and gourmet creations available for those who were seeking to taste some of Fredericton's delights.
Anything that's like for kids, because that's my thing. I also do like some home stuff, or like that unicorn one that I have there, and like this stuff for kids.
The show decided to work with Linking Lives, a non-for-profit organisation based in New Brunswick that aims to help those who have been struck by poverty by linking people with the needed resources.
Linking Lives is a 100% volunteer-operated non-profit. We are registered, and what we do is we're seeking to fill gaps in services throughout the community. So going forward, we want to continue to build. We want to grow in number as far as our volunteers. The more volunteers that we have, the more services we can provide. So we're going to be looking to grow the organization. We'd also like to see other satellite-type organizations start to pop up around the province. We'd certainly help with building that model so that every area has their own community-based service group of volunteers that can meet the needs in the community, not being met by organized service providers.
The Fall Craft Show was a big hit here in downtown Fredericton, and don't worry if you missed it, it will be back again next year. Rachel Moros reporting for STU Journalism.
Leaves are changing color, and it's getting colder. Fall is officially here. It means winter isn't far away, but it's a great time to go pick apples. Frederic Amaro took a bite of the action at the Everett family orchard.
Fall is underway, which means it's apple picking season, and Everett Family Orchard is the place to go for most Frederictonians.
I think in a day we'd see at least 500 or 1,000 people, which is, that's a good chunk of people.
The man who takes care of the orchard is Chuck Everett. He studied engineering, but he decided to become a farmer so he could be close to nature and follow the footsteps of his ancestors. Chuck's great-grandfather turned his orchard into a commercial one 125 years ago.
He started a larger orchard, and then my grandfather and my father and then myself. So we've grown some of the new varieties along the way.
Today the farm has 25 varieties. Chuck has planted 150 new trees this year, about a tenth of the orchard.
The challenge here is to provide the right nutrients for an apple tree through lime or fertilizer or putting mulch under our trees.
Today, most of the Everett's apples are for you pick. Those who come to the orchard can pick two types of apples, those for eating and those for cooking. From pies to cider, apples can be used in many ways.
We'll use them for apple crisp. That's the easiest. I mean, just have to chop up the apples, throw them in pie with a little bit of topping, and away you go.
We have a tradition, me and my little one will bake pies and cakes and apple butter.
Gionnet has been coming to the orchard for almost 15 years. She says it's beautiful. Many also enjoy taking pictures at the orchard when they come to pick apples. For some others, it's all about family fun. This is Frédéric Camarano reporting for STU Journalism.
The weather may be getting colder, but many New Brunswickers enjoy casually playing in the pool sometimes. In today's report, Thomas Ross explores how Fredericton pool enthusiasts enjoy some time at the Freddie Beach Pool League.
Each fall marks the start of a new season for the Freddie Beach Pool League. The league takes place at Fredericton's Main Street Doolies and has been operating at various Fredericton locations since 2002. Over 70 players are drafted onto competitive pool teams, giving them a chance to win a trip to Vegas. But really, it's about having a good time. Players receive coaching from captains.
I had a few friends who were going to be playing in the league, and so I just wanted to branch out and give it a whirl and have a good time.
And of course, with practice comes improvement. A lot of improvement. And the reason they go to Vegas?
We played in the tournament they have down there every year. The whole point of going, I guess, it's quite a big venue and very, very, very competitive. A little over my head when I'm there, but it's a lot of fun. It's a good experience, and I definitely do it again.
Of course, they enjoy other activities too.
A lot of stuff, a lot of sightseeing, a few beverages, a lot of restaurants, and just pretty much all the Vegas stuff you can do without getting into too much trouble.
After an evening of good times and good friends, it's time to call it a night. Back to you.
A local convention is engaging Fredericton's board game players, teaching new strategies for popular role-playing games. Johnny James has the story.
Dungeons & Dragons is just the beginning. There is an entire genre of games where players craft characters and complex strategies. NBCon has served as Fredericton's gathering for this community for 5 years. 3 days of gaming coincided with panels on how to improve your experience.
Some tips on how to build terrain. We're doing one on how to stream your game. That's a big thing now with shows like Critical Role and the like. So we're doing a panel on how to do that sort of thing.
The convention also encourages participants to dress in cosplay of their favorite characters. All who do are entered in a contest, the winner receiving a professional photo shoot in their costume.
My cosplay today is my D&D character that I play in my online game that is filmed and broadcast. So her name is Alzera. She's a Wood Elf Druid, and I designed everything. I commissioned the shirt from one of my friends, Vincent. The wig has been styled by me, and yeah, it's all pieces that I either found or made or commissioned specifically for her.
Participants can also give to a greater cause, auctioning off their used games with 25% of the profits going to the SPCA. NBCon runs year-round through their Facebook page, where players can ask questions and receive helpful feedback on any aspect of their game 24/7, keeping the conversation going and their skills growing. For STU Journalism, I'm Johnny James.
Traffic circles are quite intriguing for drivers. With only single-lane roundabouts, Fredericton introduced its first multi-lane one back in 2015 and is causing quite a confusion. Daniel Deresinger has more on the story.
Many drivers arriving at a traffic circle often do not communicate their intentions as to what their next move is when traveling through one. This is a dangerous trend, and for those who ignore the yield to traffic coming from the left rule, there's always that potential for an accident waiting to happen. Are drivers ignorant of the rules? Sean Daly of First Rate Drivers, Fredericton's largest provider of driver training services, offers an insight into a couple of problems.
After observing people's behavior in traffic circles and roundabouts within our city and other cities as well, I think it comes down to a couple of things. One thing would be, lack of resources in terms of educational materials out there showing proper methodology for doing it.
So what is the proper procedure when taking a third exit, for instance, at a roundabout? Mike Dubee explains.
I'm approaching the traffic circle, coming down to 30 kilometers an hour. Yielding to everyone else. Once in this traffic circle, I'm signaling left until after the second exit.
Many people tend to go with the flow of traffic.
And unfortunately, the flow of traffic in many cases is not doing it correctly. So I think that if there was a bigger effort to provide more educational resources for people to be able to understand it more appropriately, then that is at least a significant step forward.
It is difficult to judge when people cannot get the correct sequence for signaling going at a traffic circle. For them, it is up to them when they get there and ask themselves, what do I do next? This is Daniel Darosinga reporting for St. Thomas University.
Many drivers are getting hungry while stuck in traffic circles. But international students are no exception. St. Thomas University is making sure the students are welcome. From bake sales to barbecue, Adriana Figueroa tells us more.
It's time to grill hamburgers and hot dogs. The smell of the grill at Killarney Lake made all new international students feel hungry at the yearly barbecue by St. Thomas University International Students Association.
So we're just, making sure everything is going smoothly, but it's a fun time where international students get to know each other and become friends. So it's a really nice environment, I guess.
The barbecue is an opportunity to make new friends and to grab a free snack and beverage.
I like being an international student in STU because the community is very big and friendly, and I have a lot of fun here. I have a lot of friends from all over the world, and this is my fourth year, and I'm graduating this year, but I know that my friends here are for life.
Many believe immigration is the key to keeping Canada a quickly growing, multicultural and safe place. This is Adriana Figueroa reporting for St. Thomas Journalism.
Leaving students aside, geeks and nerds in downtown Fredericton are gathering at the Unplugged Cafe to check improve group Hot Garbage Comedy. Garrett Moore has more details.
The Unplugged Board Game Cafe is now hosting the Fredericton improv group Hot Garbage Comedy and their new show, Players in Pints. It's a game of Dungeons & Dragons that brings together local actors, directors, and playwrights, where the group plays through loosely connected and wacky adventures made up by theater teacher and game master Jean-Michel Cliché.
It's a mix. So in the first one, our first episode was a very traditional adventure. There were goblins, they had to save a medieval town. But the second episode all took place in a sort of Hogwartsian medieval university that had a football team and had a football coach and a dean.
The show's cast of 4 members includes actor Aaron Ellis, playwright Ryan Griffith, actor Tilly Jackson, and actor Kat Hall. Players in Pints experienced early success, surprising cliché.
We were shocked by the number of people that came out to it. Unplugged can seat around 100 people, and we had people sort of sitting in each other's laps and standing up and all kinds of stuff. So that was really cool, and that gave us a really clear indication that, okay, there is an audience for this.
Dungeons & Dragons conjures up thoughts of 20-sided polyhedrons, large rulebooks, and binders full of numbers of inexplicable purpose, though recently there's been a rise in popularity of Dungeons & Dragons, which Jackson attributes to the storytelling aspect of the game.
The internet connects people, and you can see that there are other people doing the same thing as you, and then you can reach out to them. But I think also it's a form of escapism, like what I was saying about forming your own character. I think it's a chance to, like if for example you were like a small kid who was being bullied, you could play D&D where you were like a strong warrior, and you could kind of be someone. It's like playing video games except in real life. And it's in your imagination, but you're also sharing it with your best friends. So really, it's a great thing to do.
Players in Pints takes place October 1st at 7:30 p.m. at the Unplugged Cafe. This is Garrett Moore reporting for St. Thomas Journalism.
That is all we have for you this week. If you miss a newscast, you can always find it on our website.
For St. Thomas University, I'm Bruna, Porto.
And I'm Alex Dascalu. We'll see you next week.